business, life coaching, upgrade your human mastermind, how someone transitioned from a firefighter to a 5-time IFBB pro champ, Mr. Olympia. Please welcome Steve Kuclo. So we just have an interview with him right now. We talked about all those cool stuff on there, tons and tons of value and knowledge inside of these. Got a lot of experience on there. So get ready for this conversation we had with Steve Kuclo. All right, Steve Kuclo in the house. How's it going, man?
It's great. Well, first I want to say thank you for saying my name right, because I feel like so many people butcher my name. My wife's always like, it's got to be one of the easiest names to say, but no, I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, I was a little worried too. I was like, man, I hope I don't butcher his name, but I was like, I'm pretty confident that's how you say it.
It's pretty simple. Yeah.
Well, appreciate you coming on the show, man. And we're here at Maker's Gym over here in Frisco, Texas. So, I'm really just glad that you're able to, carve out some time. I know you're a busy man. You got a lot going on too. So I really appreciate the time here.
Absolutely. Love what you guys stand for, and love being a part of something great.
Thank you. Yeah, we're all part of a great community at Elevate Life Church, everything, man. So I'm very grateful.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, Steve, let's kick this off, man. We got a lot to cover today. I'm excited. So I always want to start off with like a billboard question. So even though I think billboards are great advertising, I still think they're effective. I don't see many here in Dallas like I used to back in California. So if Frisco said, Steve, we're going to grant you a billboard so everyone can see, what would that billboard say and why?
Well, I had this question. You sent me the question, and I'm glad you did, because I would have probably stared at you for 5 minutes trying to think about this. But my wife and I, we were talking about it on the way here. And we both had very similar answers to it. When you think of a billboard, you're trying to get as much as you can, and like somebody is because they're gonna be flying by it down the freeway or driving by it, and it's not like everybody's stopping and reading it. It's like what catches somebody's eye. To me, it's like you want to show like who you are in all assets, like of who I am. Like not just, Steve the bodybuilder is great, but hey, what if it showed like Steve as the firefighter who I was? And I could relate to more people that way. Steve as the entrepreneur business guy, Steve as the professional bodybuilder, have several different pictures up there. That way somebody can be like, they're going to double take that and be like, if it's just a fitness thing, okay, it's related to fitness. But I think if it can be eye-catching, showing the best assets of like who you are and all the different, hats you may wear, I think that'd be kind of a cool billboard.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. Like, no one's ever broke it down like that. I like that. It's different. So cool. Okay. So I want to get into your story, man, because you got a cool story, like with the firefighter background, paramedic, and so you said you've been in Dallas since 20 years, right?
Just almost 20 years coming up. Yeah.
And then so I was doing some research, and like you started your first bodybuilding competition at age 18. That's crazy, man. Most people don't start a bodybuilding competition at age 18. So like, what inspired you, or who inspired you, like to even think about at 18 to get in your first competition?
I really got the addiction to the lifestyle. I think it was, I loved training, being the strongest, fastest guy when I played sports. And one of the big things that I was instilled from my coaches in high school and growing up were like, get in the weight room, get stronger. And in the off season, I loved, getting bigger and your shirts fit a little tighter. You start seeing some, little abs or chest popping out when you're, 14, 15, 16. You're like, man, girl's going to like this. Your confidence goes up. So there's that aspect to it. But I loved being like, I seen results really fast. And then, I was got into watching the movies like Pumping Iron, getting to Flex magazines, going to some local bodybuilding shows, went to some Arnold Classic bodybuilding shows that are, grew up in Michigan. It's like a 3-hour drive to get to Columbus, Ohio. So loved like that. I started getting like, man, I'd like to do that. But I always thought I had to be the best in the world to get on stage, and, not realizing, okay, maybe everybody starts at like a basic, level, and then you kind of work your way up to obviously becoming a pro. So I'd say it'd be a combination of like, the Arnold's of the world that inspired me to get into bodybuilding. Jay Cutler's bit was one, because that was like he was in his prime or starting his prime when I was kind of coming up. Ronnie Coleman, those guys were, kind of paved the way for me to say that's something I want to do and I aspire to do. And then it was aligning with just really the right people throughout my career, coaches, friends, training partners that really kept me driving to be my best and to get, just keep hitting those next levels of success.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you, like, what would you say, like, some of the key lessons you carried over just from, like, doing all those years of kind of like bodybuilding, like you still kind of like stand by or maybe their values or principles?
Oh, absolutely. I think bodybuilding teaches you a lot. One, about like how far you can take yourself, especially with discipline, and how much pain you can endure. So I think a lot of people like, oh, it's getting hard, or I'm suffering a little bit, and they'll quit something. It's like, no, when it gets tough, like, you just got to really grind through it. But I think there's a smart way to do it. You don't want to go blindly into things, and you could either hurt yourself or not be successful if you're taking the crazy path. But I've been always calculated and strategic, and align myself with the right people, great coaches, people I trust in. But the discipline factor to bodybuilding, the aspect of being able to commit to something and see it all the way through. Not just like, I'm going to do this, and then 2 weeks later, you fall off the bandwagon, and you got to be so. And at the end of the day, if you're dieting for 12 weeks or 4 months, or 12 to 16 weeks is typically what people diet for. You can see, like, if the people that really stuck to it and crossed every T, dotted every I, at the end of the day, it will either likely win that show, because they're going to be in the best shape. They're going to look the best. They did their homework, and all that sacrifice, all that hard work paid off.
100%. Yeah, and that's the thing, man. Like, we actually did a bodybuilding show back in 2013.
You could tell. You got,
embarrassing. Right? And just, I don't know how this guy placed ahead of me, but he placed it. Maybe he was a minute older or something like that.
Yeah.
We did a 30-week prep, and we lost about like 50 pounds.
Wow.
So just that dedication, that discipline, the consistency, the focus of like what that was, man. It was just a lot, right? But it's carried over like the past decade of just like everything that we do as far as like personal excellence, business, everything like that.
It definitely teaches you a lot, and I'm seeing now more of the people in the business realm are focusing on their fitness, and you could see that there's such a carryover and in it, between, hey, if I get my fitness right, I'm going to be able to perform better in life, in relationships, in the way I could run my company. I'm going to have more energy. I'm going to feel better about myself, be more confident. Like, all those little factors start adding up to greatness.
Yeah, and it's always like they always have that perception of like, oh, let me get rich first or successful first, and then I'll put my health on the back burner. I'll get to it later. But it's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
No.
So I'm interested too, Steve. 5-time IFBB Pro champ. So how did you maintain like the balance, like life balance with all that stuff, if that's even possible?
I think the balance is something I always tell people you need to have it, because a sport where it demands so much of you, and it's a very selfish sport. Like, you have to something will suffer, but my thing was, when I'm getting ready for a competition, my friends, people I do life with, the people that truly support you are gonna understand. And if you communicate with them and say, hey, I'm all in on this right now. I'm not gonna be able to go out Saturday night, or I'm not gonna be able to make the holiday dinner, or I can't eat what you made. I'm gonna bring my own food, like those kind of things. That helps the stressful part of like keeping that balance. The people that truly understand what you're doing, you need to surround yourself with that group, the support system. That's a big, something I could say that attributed to my success was my family and friends that understood it. But if the days or the time I wasn't getting ready for something, I enjoyed life too. I went out, ate what I wanted. You can't live 100% strict lifestyle all the time, or you're gonna drive yourself crazy. You're gonna burn out, or you're just gonna go way off the bandwagon where it's the other. You're going from one side of the pendulum to the other, instead of kind of having a little middle ground where you spend some time. It's like during my preps, at least one time a week, I always tell my wife, let's go out to dinner. You don't have to cook tonight. Like, I could eat out. It's not going to ruin my diet. And we do that, and it creates some balance with life.
Good. Yeah, it's almost like what they've been talking about at church of like, what's the price you're willing to pay? Like, everyone has a price.
Right.
So that's what it sounds like to me. It's like you had that discussion with Steve early on. You're like, I know what price I'm going to have to pay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit though too, because like you from 18 to 21, right, and then like 21 you started getting into being a paramedic and a firefighter, right?
Right.
What got you into just wanting to be a firefighter?
Well, growing up in Detroit, my grandfather was an engineer, and I love cars. And people know me as a car guy, and I always wanted to like be a mechanical engineer, designer. And at the time, coming up in the early 2000s, was like the recession of the automotive market. And you know, I living in Detroit, thousands of people were getting laid off from GM and Dodge and all these different companies. And I'm like, why am I going to school to fight for a job that's probably not even going to be there? And I had friends that were in the firefighter paramedic field, and that's was their profession, and guys that trained at the gym I was at, and I started talking to them about it, and I had obviously an affinity for the, you know, the human body and how it worked. So that kind of training and education I loved it. So it was like, you know, I made a decision. I'm going to change my career path into becoming a firefighter medic, and it allowed, because I was like, well, I love bodybuilding too, and the time, you know, working 24-hour shifts and 48 hours off gives you the time to train and do that, and then 24 hours on, I'm going to focus on being, you know, a firefighter medic. So that kind of career path allowed me also to finance to be a bodybuilder, because that, you know, competing is not a cheap sport. The food, the supplements, you know, the training, all the things, the amount of time, it's in a very expensive sport. So yeah, that's really why I chose to kind of go both career routes, and then eventually go full-time bodybuilding when I was able to support myself and not feel like, man, I'm going to really sacrifice, and I'm not going to be able to make it if I stop being a firefighter. And
do you have any crazy like firefighter stories?
Oh man, yeah. You know, there every so often, like I'll see something like, oh yeah, I remember when I did that, or, you know, I think some of the craziest ones. My thing was I've pretty much seen it all. When you think, like, you know, I've seen somebody shot, seen somebody, you know, arm hanging off, foot hanging off. I've seen dead bodies, people die right in front of me. You know, and you see the worst of humanity, you know, and then you see the best of humanity where, you know, I've delivered 9 babies, which is an amazing thing. You know, you see birth, and then you see death. So, I mean, those things that's what makes that job really rewarding, and that I look at it. And, you know, the brotherhood that's part of being a firefighter is, like, people ask, do you miss, you know, being a firefighter? And I say, well, I don't miss being up 24 hours a day and getting my ass kicked and not sleeping and getting spit on or bled on or all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, like, you miss that brotherhood that the station has. And it does teach you that career taught me a lot about, you know, being selfless and being a servant. You know, those guys aren't getting paid millions of dollars to go on the street and save lives. You know, there's the guys that are on basketball courts getting paid millions, but the guys that are risking their lives going in a burning building, you know, making 40 or 50,000 a year, you know, having to work 2 jobs usually just to kind of make it. Those guys are the heroes. Yeah.
Man, don't even get me started on like how
It really is. It's crazy, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about the word advance.
Yeah.
So that's a good word that Pastor Keith, you know, set the tone for at Elevate Life Church. So I want to know, like, what areas in 2023 do you need to advance?
Man, I tell you what, when he spoke that word at first, I heard it, but it didn't sink in quite like the moment he said it. He said advance, and you're kind of like, okay. And then the more I really meditated and prayed on because he gave it New Year's Eve, he gave the word. And then probably the next weekend, it all made sense to me. Like, I prayed on it, and I realized, man, there's so much in life I want to advance. There's so much in you know, the year of advance. I felt like in life, there's always times where you take 1 step back, 2 steps forward. And that's the way, if I ever lost a show, I would be like, okay, I'm going to learn from this. Or if I've ever did anything wrong in life or screwed up in business or relationships, whatever, hey, I'm going to learn from this, and I'm not going to make the same mistake or better myself every time. And with advance, I thought about, okay, I'm in a transition in my career. I'm toward the end of my bodybuilding career. I'm going to be 38 this year. I don't want to be competing until I'm 48 and my body's falling apart. And, you know, like you see Ronnie Coleman, and God bless him. I mean, the guy's a legend, but he can't even walk now, you know, and he's paid the price, and he would do it all over again, you know, and I commend that. And he's the greatest of all time in the sport. But advance to me this year was like, I'm at that transition of closing a chapter and starting a new one. And everything I've done until this point has been very much in the fitness world, very much into all the businesses I've owned. I've kind of been in fitness related, more or less. Been the promotion side, having apparel line, starting business from the ground up, training stuff, coaching stuff. So I was like, I'm going to take everything that I've learned over the last 10 years of my life where I feel like those have been the most maturing years of my life. And then also my alignments, my relationships, friendships I've built. And let's put together something that could be really great. And, you know, I always, so much of my career has been focused on just me. Like, hey, what have I accomplished? Am I going to win this show? Or, you know, and that's great because people are like, yeah, go Steve. And it's rewarding. But, you know, there's that moment, like the next day after you win a big show, like if people are talking, they're like, okay, yeah, great job. And then on to the next one. So there's that high and low of things. But I felt like the most rewarding aspect of what I've ever done was always helping people. And it was always like you being being generous. Or when people come up to me at a bodybuilding show at an expo and be like, man, you know, you changed my life, you know, your story, or you inspired me to get into being a firefighter. And I've had people say, you know, your story saved my life. And you're like, man, what you just think? I'm just thinking, who am I? I know I've accomplished things, but it really was like, it resonated with me. Like, what am I going to do to help people advance in life too? And I think that's why I started thinking about, I want to create an event because I love creating events and having events. And then from there, create a program and group stuff throughout the year. And that's why I created Upgraded Human Mastermind, which is the event I'm doing this year in conjunction with the Kuclo Classic, which is my bodybuilding show. But I want to do a personal development side to help people upgrade their life in all areas, not just business or not just health and fitness, not just faith. Let's upgrade all these areas.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So then when is the Kuclo Classic? Where can they find more information? So they can just look it up.
So yeah, May 26th and May 27th are the two event days. They're back to back here in Plano, Texas. I have the Upgraded Human Mastermind is Friday, the first day. And that's upgradedhumanmastermind.live is where you can find more information, and all the social media handles as well. And then the Kuclo Classic is kukloclassic.com, and that has registration, tickets, hotel, everything's on there. And
awesome, and we'll have that in the show links for sure. So like that's a huge like pivot and transition though. So
it is.
It's just really like you just want to get into just like coaching, just like leadership, and just really.
I want to help people like unleash the greatness inside of them, you know, and be willing to take a risk on themselves. Like so many people are. I mean, we're scared a lot. There's so much. I think fear gets in the way of people wanting to go do something, and it's like, how can we help people just get over that hump? Encourage them and you know, be success stories.
Yeah, and I love it, man. Like you said, people live in fear, uncertainty, and doubt, especially more nowadays with society. Like, they're just pumping nothing but crap into us. Yeah. So like, what like, has there ever been a time? I mean, I'm sure there's been a time where you've been like, you know, fearful of something. But like, what did you do? Like, what was the pep talk that you had to have to yourself? Did you have a mentor, like someone that just snapped you out of it? And they're like, man, Steve, like you have so much potential. Like, what did you do?
I mean, it happens sometimes a lot more in the recent that I've had more fear and doubt just because going in a new chapter, new avenue of life, it's like, man, there's that doubt, there's that fear. The enemy's putting that in you, you know, but for me to give a quick, like, how do I get through it and what did I do? Man, I just take that step. When your fear of making that step, you just say, you know what, I'm going to take it. I'm going to go through that door. I'm going to bust through it. Even when that door seems like it's shut, like, no, you know, God put that door in front of me. I'm going to open it and let's walk through it. I think so many people are like waiting for this perfect plan from God and all that. And he's putting it right in front of you, but you got to take that first step. You got to take action on your greatness to make it happen. And as you know, you may make mistakes or things may not go right, and you just got to pivot a little bit and be willing to make the adjustments.
Yeah, it's like how can God give you more if you don't even prove to him that you could do with like the little like steps that he's giving you? All right, just give me 1 second. We'll get back to the training, okay? Now, look, if you are looking to enhance your content, if you're looking to really build what we call a content machine, okay? We have this awesome worksheet for you. So just check out the link below and you guys can download this awesome worksheet where there's like 3 or 4 different type of like exercises in there. You guys can really roll out some brand new content for your guys' online audience, your guys' brand, your offer, okay? Now back to the training.
Absolutely. And I know, like they say, like new level, new devil with things. And as I'm transitioning and I feel like this is going to be bigger than what I've done in bodybuilding, it's like I know the enemy's going to come against me, and he's going to put thoughts in my head of doubt or fear. Like, I'm putting all this time and energy and effort and money into this. Like, is it going to be successful? And I just keep telling, that's all lies. I know they're lies. Yeah. God's got me on this. He ain't going to bring me this far to let me fail.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome starts.
That's true. So, I mean, that's been throughout the career, but having people, and at this time, I've called friends in the recent few weeks just to be like, pray for me. Hey, man, I'm feeling this heaviness on me. It's not a self-righteous thing. It's more of a fear thing that the enemy's trying to put on me. That's been a huge thing. I have several like kind of life coaches that I've talked to and say, hey, I need to get on a call with you, man. Just kind of going through a rough patch of life, but I realize it's almost like a test at the same time that God has done with my life. In the recent, like my wife and I are really trying to, we're wanting to start a family. And that's short story long maybe is we got pregnant last summer. We miscarried a few months later into it. And that was, hard. One of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life. And right before we were getting pregnant, I had all this doubt, like, it can it even happen? Can we get pregnant? Did I screw up my body all these years being in bodybuilding and my hormones being so jacked up over these last 20 years I've been competing? There was a lot of doubt there, and we found probably a week later, my wife came to me. She's like, "I'm pregnant," and blew my mind, But that just showed me like God delivered. I mean, right when I had doubt, and I was like, God, why? Kind of the why asking. Yeah. And boom, she was pregnant. And then I'll share this with you guys now, but we had same feeling about a week and a half ago. Start coming on me. I'm feeling this heaviness, feeling this doubt. Like, is this going to happen? We're trying, is again, all these things, these questions are coming to my mind. And then I called a friend and he prayed for me. Actually over both of us, explaining like, hey, we don't operate in the realm of the natural. Like we're not bound by chains of generational curses, the things that society says or doctors may say over you. Like we operate in the realm of the supernatural, and absolutely. And so we had Saturday we dropped our daughter off at the airport. She went getting done with spring break and stuff, and my wife's like, I'm a little late on my period, and so we went and got a pregnancy test, and sure enough, Saturday night she's pregnant. And so we, it's no matter if you saw it one time or 5 times, it's still like, oh my God, there's like such an emotional, overwhelming feeling. So it's a true blessing.
Yeah, and I got to ask you too, man, because my wife's actually expecting in July, right? She's 6 months, and I was a little bit fearful too, just about having kids and stuff. But now I'm just really embracing it. Is there anything you fear, just being a dad?
No, I think maybe if I was 25 having a kid, I'd be like, I don't know anything. And I feel like at this point, okay, I know how I was raised, the things I went through. I've had enough life experience that I could teach my child on things, maybe give him a little more direction than I was given as a kid of, hey, what not to do, what to do, give him an example, speak more life over him. Those are the things and that's something that Pastor Keith always teaches about, like how he is with his family. We're thinking legacy. That was my mindset switch this year, was more generational and legacy. Like that, I'm thinking, hey, it's not about me, and if I don't reproduce or be fruitful and multiply, it dies with me. Like I want to create the next generation of who my legacy.
Yeah, well, that's awesome, man. Congrats to you and your wife.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to dig a little bit deeper into this upgraded human mastermind, man. Because I think it's a really, really cool experience. You got some pretty big heavy hitters on there. So maybe just give us some more details. Like, what does it kind of consist of? Like, who's it for? These type of things.
It's really for everybody, and I think it's I don't. A lot of people see different things, different masterminds or events that are $100 million mastermind, and they're thinking, well, I got to be worth $100 million to be in that room. Well, that's not the case. We want people that are willing to do the work, that are willing to sacrifice or be willing to take a chance on themselves, pay the price to be in a room and be around some greatness, be around an amazing network of people that are going to be there. So my thing was, all the alignments that I've had over the years, the relationships I've built, everybody on this poster that you see, I've literally have either had dinner with, have talked to on a regular basis, have worked with in some capacity, over a long period of time, have a standing relationship with them. So I reached out to them. I had a list of like 25 people of like, hey, it's just the wheels start turning. We talk advance. And so I had this list I created, and the first 7 or 8 people I reached out to all said yes. And I was like, okay, but I'm thinking my whole foundation of this is like for the 4Fs: faith, family, fitness, finance, for the kind of general foundation of the event, the general cornerstones of what we're gonna to teach on. So I wanted to bring in experts in the health and fitness. That's why I brought in Dr. Connor O. Thomas, who's the anabolic doc, who's going to teach on men's health, heart health, women's health, hormone replacement. There's so much bad information out there that you see that people are speaking on that don't come from a place of authority, and they're just putting out there like these crazy things to do or try, and it's getting a lot of people hurt. So there's that. I'm gonna sit on a panel with my trainer Gina Rowe, I've been working with her. She's at pre-med. She's brilliant and understands training and lifestyle, and she's got clients and can kind of help people, encourage people if they're a little afraid to get in a gym or get with a trainer, just kind of help people find their way into the fitness world, or just some easy first steps. And we can get a little more into it there, but I think that people are so, hey, I'm going to try this fad or this diet, or there's a lot of confusion out there of what people should do. So we're going to help with that. I got Steve Weatherford, good friend of mine. He goes Elevate Life, and he's an amazing human being, just his story and testimony. I want him to just share that. He helps people really open up their mind and heart to God, and just his story alone will bring tears to your eyes. Tommy Vex, another good friend of mine, lead singer of Bad Wolves. Just you want to hear about a person with kind of a not willing to ever give up. Like he almost died in a home invasion, and his story is incredible. But somebody that was trying to every aspect of social media and the cancel culture tried to come against this guy, and he stood his ground, and he's flourishing today because he never gave up or never submitted to lies and the enemy. Like that dude the endurance he has was absolutely incredible. So his story is amazing. I got a friend, Tony Kasai, teaching on finance. He's going to come in. I think a lot of people are wondering, hey, in today's world, financial systems going on and all these, what's happening, and what are some ways I could still, make some money or be smart with my money. He's going to teach on that. Jesse Lee, I think, another local Dallas powerhouse, one of the most, the largest network, the biggest network marketing person in the world. Like, she knows how to market. She's done multi-level stuff. She's absolutely amazing when it comes to business. She's a female leadership coach as well, and so I don't want to make this just male. I want to make it men and women. And if anybody's ever seen Sean Whalen speak, I mean, dude, your soul leaves you, and you're kind of looking at it, and you're like, let's go. Like, the dude's amazing, and a good friend of mine. So, like I said, the first 7, 8 people that I reached out to, that all said yes. And I'm like, okay, this is anointed to move forward. Let's do this. Let's be all in on it. Now it's the promotion side, like getting the sponsors, getting, all the fine pieces together. And I love to create an event, because I think it's very much like building a car or having a kid. Like you're doing all this work to kind of get it together, and then you finally see the final product, and you're like, all right, and you can step back and be like, all right, this is going to run, and let's do this.
Yeah, honestly, I have a great respect for people who put events together, because I'm there in the seats, and I'm like, holy shit, this probably took a lot of respect, when it comes to life like that,
Yeah.
I also think like more people want that, right? They want community, because let's be real, like isolation kills, community heals.
Yeah.
And with COVID, all that stuff going on, everything was shut down. It's like everyone's so used to going on Zoom. It's so easy and convenient.
Mm-hmm.
But man, people want to be in front of people. They want to shake hands.
There's a different energy when you get in a room with people. Like, yeah, it's great to be in Zoom with a lot of great people, but the alignments that you can get there, and the networking, the value of what you're going to learn is really priceless. Like, people are going to impart in you years and years of experience and knowledge that they have, that you may never learn, or you can, in a 4-year degree in a college, you're never going to learn this, but you're going to learn it in one day.
Where can they find more information on it?
Upgradedhumanmastermind.live. And it has the whole, like, it gives a breakdown of each speaker, and it's, if you want to see some more information on it, but you can get tickets there. So yeah, we're coming up about 11 weeks, and it's exciting.
Awesome, man. Cool. All right, I want to shift gears here, man. I want to talk about morning routines. Like, we're just fascinated whenever we bring somebody on talking about morning routines, because I feel like the morning routine is that time where it's like, it's like your me time, but it's also to like get those quick wins in and build momentum. So for your morning routine, like, what is it? Kind of detailed, and just like, how does that carry over for you to play offense?
I think number one thing that people can be in the morning is consistent. I'm a creature of habit. I think anybody that's in the fitness world or likes to be successful is very much like habitual things or being consistent with things. And that's one of the things I hate to use this word, but pride myself on being a very consistent person. And that's through all aspects of life. So I mean, I like following the sun when I'm not a 3 or 4 a.m. guy like some of the hardcore guys. Like, that's not me. Like, I need my sleep. Like, there's a lot of value in sleep. Like, if you recover your mind, your body, we need, especially if you're in the performance bodybuilding fitness world or want to be a better version of yourself, you need to get your rest. So I like following, not staying up to 2 a.m, but go to bed at a decent time and follow the sun. I get 7-8 hours of sleep. Like, I feel really rejuvenated and rested. From there, I get in the Word with my wife. I love spending time with her before anything else in the morning. Like, we make some coffee, we go sit down, and we do some devotion. We start, we read the Bible. We talk, what do we do? Just kind of plan out life a little bit. And I think that really feeds my soul. Like, I feel like I'm the clearest in the morning for me. I'm a morning person in that aspect. And having that consistency and that time with her, just like, it gets me like, all right, I got my armor on and I'm ready to take on the world, And then from there, I like to time block through my day. Like, I usually do the first part of the day kind of self, like, hey, all right, I'm going to get to the gym. I'm going to spend some time getting my health right and doing me. And then after that, usually it's like the 6 to 12 time block. And it may switch a little bit, but I think of 6 to 12 is going to focus on my faith and my fitness aspect of life. And then we're going to go into the business from that 12 to 6. And again, it may shift a little bit, but 12 to 6 it's time to get to business. Like, let's make some phone calls, get on Zoom, let's do some podcasts. Let's, what do we have to do for the day to just keep moving everything forward? And then to me at night, like from that 6 to 12, going from 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. is going to be focusing on family time. And what are we doing with, I'm putting my phone down if I can, if I'm not expecting phone calls or something crazy is going on. But, I'm not going to be sitting on social media or just wasting time. Like, I'm going to be very intentional with my time with my wife and making sure, like, she made dinner and we're going to spend time just together, not sitting there like on our phone while we're eating. And when you can do that, you can have that disconnect. Like, don't let the phone run you. You run the phone. And that's allowed me to when it's time to focus on it, like, you're all in on it. And it's not like I do a little bit here and a little bit here. And so that it's just being more intentional with my time. I love that, man.
I love the time blocks and how you guys like start off with devotionals, playing like spiritual offense, and that carries
absolutely
over, playing offense in business and all that. That's awesome. What are some values that you stand by like today and that have just really gotten you through like even some just like adverse times?
I think the number one is my relationship and faith in God. Yeah. That has truly been my foundation.
Really quick on that, Steve. Like, did that start at a young age?
I grew up in a Catholic church, and to be honest, like, I never had a real relationship with God. Like, it was very rule driven. It was very like, well, I got to be a good person. I got to go, say my Our Father and Hail Marys type stuff, and everything will be okay. And I realized I never had that true relationship with God until, like, I really went through some tough times in life, and I realized, like, I can't get through life unless I have a relationship with God. And it was probably my mid-20s where I started really, like, I surrounded myself. I was working with a lot of amazing, strong Christian men in the fire department, and we were doing, devotional and reading books and kind of having kind of a group time that we would sit and talk about faith a lot. And it just really started grew on me, and I had a real hardened heart. I think you don't realize, I think society and the way culture, it kind of hardens you in a lot of ways. And then God just started chipping away at that hardness, man. And it broke down emotionally. Every time I'd go to church and hear a message, I'd just be crying in the back by myself, and just realizing God was softening my heart. And then the Holy Spirit got to work in me more and more. And then I realized how I wanted to set up my life and who I wanted to be. based on biblical principles, not on what culture is going to tell me, or not what should be based on what, you know, the world of today is.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
Similarities though, because like we were raised too Catholic, first communion, all that.
Yeah.
Our parents were real leaders when it came to that. You know what I mean? Just kind of checking boxes type of thing. And then we lost our dad, man, at 17 in a car accident, and that really turned things around to like that hardened our hearts too.
Yeah.
And, like we didn't have a relationship with God either, but like over time too, and especially coming here 2 years ago, just like kind of like a sculpture effect, just chipping away and softening our hearts, man. So
Absolutely. You know, and people think like, you know, we belong to a church that's not your typical khaki wearing Christian, as they call it. Like, it's not the soft and the guy that says one thing and does another. I mean, and these people really live by what they say, and it goes, that's the difference. And it's living it out, you know, aligning with the same people, like the having kingdom alignment and kingdom values and kingdom mindset. It's just a whole nother way of living, and I'm still transitioning. It's seeing it more and more now. Like it's hard, but at the same time, when you can align with the right people that have the same values, boy, it's a whole nother level that you can go. And it's hard to find these people. It really is, absolutely. But when you can get in the right room with the right people, at the right place, the right things are going to happen. You know, and when you do that. Just life takes on a whole nother level, man. It's an upgrade. That's what we're doing here. Exactly. We're upgrading.
All right, so back to the values. Just okay. So faith, God.
Faith, my relationship and faith in God. Like, it's one thing to have faith in God and hey, I believe in God, but hey, I got to have a relationship with Him. You know, I'm going to talk to Him. I'm going to get in His Word, doing those things. The love and respect for my wife and the family of choice, people I do life with. You know. Next one is like excellence. I believe doing anything I'm going to do, I'm going to overdo. Like I want to do it with a level of excellence into what I do, not just like, you know, say, I checked the box. You know, if I'm going to commit to something, we're all in on it. Honor. I'm big on honor. Like, I love honoring people that I do life with, and then generosity. I love, you know, being generous with the people I do life with. You know, if we go out to dinner, I'm going to try to buy the dinner for everybody. Or if you know, if I could give you, there's people that come up to me and talk to me in the gym and ask me questions, and I'll give you the time. Absolutely. And people come to me like, why did you give that guy so much time? Why was you? And I was like, you know what? It may really help that person or change. It may do way more than I may ever know by giving them 5 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever it is, instead of being like, don't bother me, I'm in, you know, middle of a set kind of thing, or, you know. So generosity, you know, goes beyond money. It's time, talent, and treasure in a lot of ways.
That's good, man. Those are really good. I'm gonna throw a curveball at you.
Yeah.
If you had 5 years to live, what would you stop doing?
Stop doing. I think it would be surround myself with people that don't have the same values. You know, I'm slowly kind of filtering those people out of my life, and that people that I don't align with, or that, you know, want to live a crazy life in a lot of different ways, where they're just living in chaos. Like, let's have a lot more. I want to live with a lot more order and intentionality, and cut those people out, the toxic people. I think if I had 5 years, I want to do life with the people that really mean something to me, that value me, and that I value them.
Yeah, that's good, man. Well, Steve, we're coming towards the end of the show, man. I could talk to you for hours.
Yeah, like
this has been great, man. But just before I ask the last question, I just want to just say thank you again, man. Like, I really respect like everything you've done, your career, just your time, man. Like,
thank you.
I value your time so much. I know you're a busy guy.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you just carving out an hour just to come here, spend time with us, get to meet you. I didn't want to do this on Zoom. I was like, no, I want to do it.
Absolutely. No, way better. And if we want to do part 2, let's go. Like, hopefully you guys can come out to the event and be a part of it. And you know what? And then maybe we could have a recap or talk about it after. But, you know.
Yeah. So just thank you, man. I wish you the utmost success just going forward, man. You're being a hell of a dad going forward.
Thank you. It's, you know what? Actually, you're the only public, or the first public platform that I've made that announcement so far. So, no, we're excited of what the future holds. You know.
It's awesome. Right on. So, what does living a dynamic lifestyle mean to Steve Kuclo?
It's living. I'm going to say living outside the box of what people or culture tells you that you should be or what you should do. Like, just because the culture tells you need to accept something doesn't mean that you need to. Like, if it doesn't align with your values, or if your spirit inside is like, man, that's not right. Like, I've walked into places and be like, man, this just doesn't feel right. That's your Holy Spirit talking to you, you know. And when you have that connection and that relationship, I mean, it's a whole nother level of you're going to be dynamic because you can make that pivot. I think if you're linear versus dynamic, like you can make the pivot, you could say, I'm not going to be in that room, or I'm not going to lie with that person. So it's being able to see the obstacles in life and taking the right path.
Drop that mic. That's an expensive mic. That was good. Yeah, but Steve, is there anything that we could do, the listeners, the viewers on YouTube, like support you on or anything like that? Where can they connect with you most importantly?
You know, I'm trying to expand the social platforms. I'm a little bit old school in it. Like, I don't like doing it, but I know I need to do it. I know it's so much value in it and connecting with people. Instagram, Facebook, Steve Kuclo. It's kind of my major ones. I'm kind of getting in the TikTok game a little bit. Have somebody help me with that. And but really, if somebody reaches out to me, people are always surprised because I typically respond to all my messages, and you know, if it's a respectful question or whatever it is, like I will gladly give you my time and answer stuff. So through the social media, Instagram at Steve Kuclo. With the new stuff coming on with the events, the Kuclo Classic and the Upgraded Human Mastermind, I'm running all those, so I'm involved in that. But if you have questions, please send them. But I hope to get as many people as I can there. We have about 1,000 seats, and we want to fill those seats. We know it's going to be a sold out. Everybody that's going to be speaking is there's people that charge $50,000 just to speak. Like some of these people that I have coming in, and they're going to drop some major value. So it's going to be an event you don't want to miss.
100%. You got to be there then. Well, cool, man. We'll have all that linked up in the show notes.
Sure.
But, guys, go check out everything Steve is doing. He's the real deal. And Steve, once again, man, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. So much, absolutely, man.
All right, guys. Until next time.
All right, I know you got at least one nugget from that conversation with the champ, Steve Kuclo. Now that you have that knowledge, watch this video right here we did with Coach Mark Carroll on how he built an 8-figure fitness business.